In 1980, there was a military coup in South Korea where the power was taken at the point of gun by the military leaders. Everywhere, for every major cities, battalions were sent with armored cars, guns, with the view to take over the cities. In Gwangju, the people resisted for several days. People occupied the city completely in a peaceful manner and did everything together, cooking, eating and having meetings, discussions. All these things were the activities on which the people engaged. A group of about 160 or so persons acted as the guards using rudimentary weapons taken from a police station which was abandoned. The military waited till they had orders from above and finally gave an ultimatum that they will enter the city and shoot anyone who resists. And they did enter, and the persons who stood as guards did not surrender. So almost all of them, except a very few, were killed. This gave rise to a protest everywhere in South Korea and also outside. Eugene Soh was in United States at the time and was studying. Hearing of this military takeover and the killing of the young persons, he embarked on actions which were to completely change his way of life till the end. He passed away on the 16th of May 2019. He organized protest with others before the White House and also assisted Kim Dae-jun, who was to later become the first democratic president in South Korea, in the organizing of the opposition to the military rule. This became his entire life work. Then the military, after taking over, were taking prisoners, arresting people who had any adverse opinion, and even torturing persons and killing some of them. It was a period of enormous unrest for South Korea. During that time, Eugene campaigned for these persons and organized solidarity for them and was engaged in this work day in and day out. During the time, one of the events which came up was the burying of the people who were killed at the uprising in 1980. The military opposed they being buried together in the same cemetery because they thought that will become a rallying point for the opposition. However, with persistent work of many persons and also churches, they were buried in a single cemetery. This was called the Old May 18th Memorial Cemetery. Later, when the democracy came into power, a huge monument was built in honor of those persons who have been killed, and their remains have been transferred to this new May 18th Memorial Cemetery. Caretakers of the old cemetery have agreed to allow Eugene's body remains to be buried in the old May 18th memorial, where now the family members of those who have been killed in the uprising are buried when they are dead. This is a great honor. At the same time, it speaks to a man who fought for those who were slain in the uprising as almost a family member. His family became one of those in solidarity with people who wanted to bring down the military regime. Once this has happened and the democracy came to South Korea under the leadership of Kim Dae-jun, Eugene did not go after seeking positions, but he devoted his life to get across to particularly to Asian countries the message of the Gwangju uprising. The message was that we in South Korea was able to defeat a military dictatorship and were able to bring about democracy, and you could also do it in terms of the problems you face in your countries. He went from country to country and build links with the people and build various kinds of activities. For example, activities against torture and disappearances in Sri Lanka. He also made a cause of the problems of Cambodia, which suffered one of the greatest losses due to the Pol Pot's regime, as well as earlier by the bombing or by the Americans under the leadership of Nixon and President Nixon and Kissinger. And he went to other countries, met many people. He became a messenger for the Gwangju uprising. He was a very simple man with a very great sense of humor and great capacity to make friends with people. He has left a lasting memory and a lasting legacy. Such men are rare. Such total devotion to the betterment of human beings for obtaining of greater freedom and liberty, and human beings living in solidarity. These are the things that he fought for, and he has left this legacy to young people who have picked it up and who are also following that path. His story must be told in detail together with the people like him who devoted their entire energies to defeat militarism and to develop democracy in South Korea. It was a great honor to have known him, and of course, he will never be forgotten.